The largest work when you come into the show is a kind of a pyramid. If you walk into it, on the inside it actually appears to be a cube. It's a container where the inside is larger than the outside. You of course see yourself in that container too, but you also see yourself reflected. So maybe the seeing is actually a way of creating. People who comes to see this exhibition, they are in fact making the show with me. I actually grew up in Denmark. My parents came from Iceland. I remember as a child I was in Iceland with my grandparents actually, and this is now 72 or 3 where there was the oil crisis. Every evening after having dinner at 6, the city would simply turn off the light to save oil. And there was a big bell in the city, as I remember it, and suddenly the light would go off. But the next thing is that in Iceland, the sun in the summer actually doesn't go down. It was sort of twilight. So we as a family would then gather around the windows in the house, continue to read or do what we were doing. And the light on the outside, it was very cold, or it was blue. This amazing blue light, I remember that very well. I made another work a long time ago at the Tate Modern in London. It was using monochromatic light. It was a sort of a big round yellow disc. It was actually half a disc and a mirror, so that the other half was in the mirror. People had a very strong and somewhat emotional response to it, and people would then start to behave very differently. You know, some people walk around, some people would dance, some people would sit down on the floor or bring a picnic. People thought it was great that everybody did something strange almost. The space and the artwork hosted people being very different, but that being a success. I always enjoyed going to look at nature and to go to landscapes. When you're outside, there's a lot of sensual engagement, and if you're walking and it's raining and there's a wind, and so you're very stimulated. So sometimes for me, I use the landscape to actually make sure that I exist. And I think a lot of these experiences have inspired my work. My exhibition here has references to nature in many ways. A lot of the works deals with light, several works with water, or some interpretation of natural phenomena. The oldest piece in the show is called Beauty. You have lamp, and then you project light on the water, and then you see a rainbow. But actually there's a third element as well. So the eye is of course needed in order to make the angle between the light, the drop, and the eye. The eye is also producing the rainbow. And what is, I think, also interesting is that we don't see the same rainbow because of the angle of the eye and the lamp. A shared space in which we have individual experiences. I have worked a lot with color experience and the diversity in color vision. So I made a work called Rainbow Panorama. In that floor, you can walk in a kind of a glass circle. Each glass has a different color, a little bit like a rainbow. And you may be behind the green glass, and of course the city then looks green. If you want to change the color, you must walk. Yeah, my father was an artist, but he couldn't live from his art. So he also cooked actually on a boat to make a living. But he always had a small studio where he made his artworks and so on. And that studio was a nice playground for me as a child. I have realized that when I grew up, and it was a nice place where you could also dream, where the impossible becomes possible somehow. Well, my studio in Berlin now have about 100 people in it. Sometimes we do yoga together, and we do some kind of popping or breakdancing and so on. Things which are just good fun, to kind of support creativity and to be more intuitive. But I have to say, most of the time we make art. We sometimes think that our surroundings are objective. They are static. And I disagree with that. I think we are not just passive, taking the world in. We are, in fact, I think, active. And we create the world as we experience it.